Taya is in Yakima. Man, I got all those names right. What's up, Taya?
What's up, Dave? Thanks for having me.
I'm honored. How can we help?
Well, we're in 3 years of business. We own a non-medical home care agency that serves our seniors and our veterans here in our area. And my question was, how can we set up our finances to create a marketing budget and build a sustainable business? I've listened to some of your podcasts where you talk about how you should put certain percentages aside for different things. I just want to make sure we're doing that, where we're able to market and still pay ourselves. And,
well, there's a couple of things. Yeah. If you're doing digital marketing, where you're buying keywords or you're buying paid SEO, that kind of stuff, then you can say you have a very clear instant rate of return on each one of those purchases. And so you spend $100 and you make X as $100 plus X, right? And we call that a ROAS. Mm-hmm. And what you're looking for is the ROAS. It's the return on your spend is what it amounts to. So as long as if you're putting out $100, as long as you're making more than $100, you can do that infinitely. Now, we like to get, a substantial, more than a 1-to-1. We try to get a 2-to-1 ROAS where we can on those things. Very difficult to maintain that, depending on the size of the campaign. But if you want to roll stuff out, advertising that works is free. You follow me? It makes you more than it costs you.
Yeah.
And so if you're doing digital and you're getting a ROAS that's in positive, you can do that mathematically in perpetuation. Now, what the problem with that is that you can become too dependent on one type of marketing. For instance, if you're buying paid Facebook and you get really dependent on paid Facebook and then Facebook jacks it up, which happened last year, okay? They jacked everybody up after 2020. Then you're all of a sudden your cost of customer acquisition just doubled because you became too dependent on one. So you don't want to, just because there's a rate of return, go whole hog on one or the other. But as long as you've got a diversified, a whole series of different marketing initiatives, if each one of them are monetizing, then you don't have to limit it to a percentage. Because again, as long as you're getting the $100 back quickly that you put out, then you can, as long as you can cash flow it, then that's what you're looking for more than anything. Now, other types of advertising or marketing that are not as direct response as a digital ad where you've got a ROAS. I mean, if you put a Facebook ad or a Google Word buy or something like that, you're going to know in 24 hours if you're making, if you know what a lead is worth. I mean, we know when someone goes, for instance, to our budgeting software, EveryDollar. We know if a free user downloads EveryDollar, on average, we're going to make X number of dollars. Okay? Mm-hmm. And as long as that lead cost us less than X, we're making money. Right? But it might be 60 days or 90 days before that cash comes through back to us. So you got to watch the cash flow on it. Now, the other types of advertising, like for instance, when I talk about percentages, that's like if you're doing more of a broadcast buy where you don't have as closely tied direct response. So if you're advertising, say, on radio or television or something like that, you're just putting an ad out there. It's not like in 20 minutes or 24 hours, you're going to know that that ad was worth what you spent, right? Mm-hmm. But if you do that over a series of years, then if we spend 6% of our advertising on radio, we keep that allocated. As long as we're doing that and we're doing it in talk radio, we're going to be fine because we do get a return over a period of 12 months that's more than adequate to suggest that is a good ad buy. That's where you use percentages in your budget. But we don't use those in Ramsey as much today because we do more digital buys with our marketing stuff than we do anything else.
Okay. Well, I guess I was just wondering, since we are a new business and the percentages that I was talking about was like, say we put in 10%, and that's going to be every time we get our income, we'll put 10% towards marketing. So we'll have a marketing budget.
Well, what that does when you're small is it keeps you from putting too much in marketing, and it makes you be careful with what you're doing in marketing. Because if you only got 10%, you got to be careful with it and make sure it's working. But sometimes if you don't put
how I was trying to structure that out.
Yeah, if you don't put a stop on the thing where at 10% we stop, then you could look up and you spent 40% and you've blown your margins on your marketing budget.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to, the budget gives you a constraint that says, I can't go past this. And when you're limited, so I only got, $10,000 or only got 10%, whatever that represents, right? And so I've got to make that pay. And so it makes you very careful. Those are precious dollars rather than sloppy, throw it at the wall and see if it sticks dollars. And that's what the budget gives you, that sense of constrained resources, limited resources. Limited resources of any kind always increase creativity. People are never creative when they're fat, sloppy, and there's enough of everything. They're creative when there's not enough. And you have to make it work with baling wire and fish hooks. That's when you get scrappy. And you create a false sense of limited resources by creating a budget item. And it's a faux, it's not false, it's a real limit because you created it. But, you force yourself to be judicial with every one of those dollars. That's what we're facing. Good question. I like that. That's a good discussion. Sounds like you're running a wonderful business. Congratulations. Thanks for calling in. Love it. This is the EntreLeadership Podcast.